Hi there. This is David Weiss, your board game concierge here at 401 Games, and we're continuing our look at good games for the holiday, stocking stuffers and such. And this week's Smorgasboard game is Disney's The Haunted Mansion Call of the Spirits, which I'm just going to call Disney's Haunted Mansion. It's based on the theme ride at Disneyland. And hey, it worked for Pirates of the Caribbean, so why not this? So it's published by Funko Games and designed by that very busy, very intensely productive and excellent design collective that calls itself Prospero Hall. They've been on quite a run this past year or so, putting out IP-themed games based on things like Back to the Future and Pan Am, and of course the Funkoverse strategy games tactical skirmish series. So let's look inside this box and see if Disney's The Haunted Mansion is the game for you. Disney's Haunted Mansion is for 2 to 6 players, and at heart, it's a set collection game where you move around the mansion on the endless hallway, picking up ghosts that will appear in the various rooms, and each type of ghost earns victory points in different ways. But over the course of the game, you're also going to be picking up these haunt cards that are between 1, 2, and 3 on them, and that's bad, very bad. So everyone starts the game in the middle of the board in the seance room, and the Hitchhiking Ghosts figurine begins in the crypt, and you set up an event deck made up of a certain amount of cards. So you take the event deck, you set aside the final round card, you shuffle the event deck, and then you discard a number of cards equal to the number of players. So if we were playing with 3 players, we'd get rid of 3 cards. And then we would take the last round card and shuffle it in with 3 random cards and put it at the bottom of the event deck. So we don't know when the final round is going to be. It's going to be one of the 4 last cards in the pile. That means that with 6 players, the game could last as few as 5 rounds. And even with 2, the game only lasts a maximum of 11 rounds. So it's not a long game at all. It's definitely possible to finish in the 30 minutes that it says on the box. So at the beginning of every round, whoever has the candelabra as the first player of the round, they flip over the top card, and the first thing you're going to do is move the Hitchhiking Ghosts this many spaces in this direction. Bloop, bloop. Now, if you are in the middle of the board in the seance room, you are immune. But let's say the situation were like this, and we moved the Hitchhiking Ghosts 2 spaces. 1, 2. Well, because they passed by the red player has to take 1 haunt. And because they finished their move with the yellow player has to take 2 haunts. So that's one of the 2 main ways you're going to be picking up haunt cards. Then you are going to take the ghost deck, which has been well shuffled at the beginning, and you're going to put 2 ghosts face up in the room where the Hitchhiker Ghosts have ended up, and then you're going to place 1 card in every room clockwise until you have dealt out a number of cards equal to the number of players plus 3. So in this case, we would be dealing a total of 5 cards. 2 of them there, and then 3, 4, 5. And then, starting with whoever the first player is, each player will get to take 3 actions per turn. Each player has a very nice card that summarizes what the actions are. So one action is to move to an adjacent room. Now, players never actually enter the rooms themselves. They stay on the carpet in the endless hallway, but red is considered to be in this room with this ghost, and yellow is considered to be in the room there with the two ghosts. So moving one space is one action. However, for one action, you can also rotate the endless hallway as many spaces as you like in either direction for one action. And you would do that either to move yourself into position to pick up some cards, or maybe to put another player in a bad position. Another action is to collect a ghost from the room that you're in, which costs an action. But if you collect a ghost from a room with the hitchhikers, then you also have to take a haunt card, which is bad. But for each card, each ghost you take costs an action. Now, one of the ways to get rid of haunt cards is if you move using an action to the seance room, once per turn, you can discard one of those haunt cards. And the final thing is to duel. So if you're in the same space as another player and they have a ghost that you really, really want, you can duel with them to try and steal the ghost away. And dueling is a neat little mini game. Each player gets one of these dials, and what you're doing is you're bidding how many haunt cards you're willing to take to win the duel. So you could bluff and bid nothing and force the other player to bid something, because you have to take that number of haunt cards regardless of whether you win or lose. Now, if you're the defender and you really want to keep the card, you can always win if you bid 3, because that's the highest possible number, because it only goes between 0 and 3, but you'll be forced to take 3 haunt cards. So you have to ask yourself if that's worth it. So it's a nice little mini game that adds some spice to the big game. The other thing I didn't mention is that each event card also has a rule which changes the rules of the game for that round. So for this round, each time you collect a ghost card from the Hitchhiker's Ghost Room, you draw 2 haunt cards instead of 1. So that obviously is going to change your tactics for that round. Once everyone has taken their turn, then whoever owns the candelabra passes it to the left, and we start a new round. Now, getting back to the ghosts. Some ghosts have actions that you must take if you collect them. So this one, if you take one of these teacup ghosts, then you have to move the hitchhiker ghosts 2 rooms in either direction when you take the card. Then these 2 force you either to draw a haunt card or allow you to discard a haunt card. So 4 is quite a bit of points for a single card in this game. 2 not so much, but it lets you discard a haunt card. On the very last round, so when the final round card turns up, the ghosts move 3, in this case, in a counterclockwise direction, and you're going to add 3 extra ghosts on top of the normal number. Everyone takes one last turn, and the game is over. Now, before people add up their scores, you have to add up all the points on the haunt cards you've taken. And whoever has the highest total has to discard the suit of ghosts that they have the most of. If they're tied and have 2 different suits with the most, they can choose which one to discard, which is one reason, for example, why you might want to collect a lower scoring suit like this one, which I'll explain the scoring in a sec, but you might want to collect it because this way, if you have a lot of them, you can just discard those and it's not going to be as painful as a higher scoring suit. And then everyone adds up their victory points. So let's talk about how ghosts score. So most ghosts are worth not points individually like the special ones that I talked about, like these 2. Most ghosts are worth more in sets. So the lovers, they're worth nothing on their own, but each pair is worth 7 points. The singing ghosts, I think these ones are called, they're worth a number of points equal to the square of how many you have. So if you manage to collect a set of 5, that's 25 points. That's a lot. Then white cards tend to have special scoring. So this tomahawk one, if you can get 3 of them, they're worth 15. And if you can collect 1 each from these 4 suits, the tomahawk, the tomahawk, the umbrella, the barrel, and the, I don't know what that is, it's a hammer or something, then that's 18 points. Other white cards give you 2 points on their own, plus 2 for each belonging to a particular other suit. So there's lots of different ways to get points, and that's a lot to keep in your mind. All in all, it makes for very replayable, variable, interesting choice game. So, is Disney's Haunted Mansion the game for you? Well, despite the age recommendation of 8+ on the box, I would say this is a rare case where a publisher has been over-optimistic as to the age requirements. There's a lot going on in this game. You've got how the different scoring abilities of all the ghosts, you've got all the different events, you've got the dueling mini game, which involves bluffing and so on. So I would say it's more for 12 years old and over rather than, or maybe a bright 10-year-old than for 8 years old and over, because despite its toy-like appearances, this is actually more of a light gamer's game than it is a kid's game. Also, the illustrations are a bit spooky, so if you have children in your life that can get nightmares from such things, then you probably won't want to play this. Aside from that, don't get me wrong, this is a really good game. It doesn't outstay its welcome. There's lots of interesting decisions. It's easy to learn and to teach, and so I would recommend it. But I do have a couple of quibbles, though. First are the haunt cards. I don't know why they chose this smaller size for the haunt cards. There's really no reason to, and it makes them hard to shuffle, which you really do need to do a lot in between games and to hold or have on the table. And the other one was the player aid cards, which were very welcome, don't get me wrong, but they printed the same thing on both sides. And instead of that, they could have used the second side for some reminders about when you have to and shouldn't be taking haunt cards. Other kind of like a rule summary on the back would have been useful rather than just printing all the available actions twice. Aside from that, though, I think this is a great light game for newcomers to the hobby, with the caveat I just said about the illustrations for some kids. So, if you're still interested, click on the link below to order your copy of Disney's Haunted Mansion, Call of the Spirits. And this is David Weiss, your board game concierge here at 401 Games. Thanks for watching. See you next time. Ciao.